welcome along to part 4 in my series where I talk about my 4K movies. And the last one I left up on the letter R, and I'll start off from R on this one. And also I just wanted to put one in that I didn't manage to fit into my last one because I just picked it up as a recent purchase, and it is Inception. Now, I got this film on Blu-ray a long time ago, very cheap from CEX. I think it was about £2 with a view to watch it. I knew it was a bit of a confusing film, but I thought I'll watch it. But with a long running time, it kind of went right down to the bottom of the list. I talked about it in a few videos when I first come onto YouTube, and everybody urged me to check it out, so I did. And I found that I really enjoyed it. I didn't understand it for most of the film, but I think by the end of it, I kind of half understood it. But it definitely needs a rewatch, and I'm glad I'm going to do the rewatch on the 4K. I checked the 4K out just in a few scenes, and all the scenes I saw looked like it had a big uptick in the quality, the picture quality, the skin textures, the details in clothing, and also when at the end when they're in the snow, also when the city's folding and like that, it looks really good. So I was glad that I did pick it up on 4K, because I had heard tales that this was not a great uptick on the Blu-ray, but for me, I found it personally, it looked a lot better than the Blu-ray, and I want to watch this. I'm going to see if my wife wants to watch it, because she did talk about it once. So, but it's a head scratcher, no doubt. But it's a Christopher Nolan film, so what else were you expecting? But better than I thought it was going to be. Anyway, back to R. Ready Player One. Now, I got this one. Now, when I looked at 4K in general, I picked through all the titles that I could, and I went for ones that I obviously wanted, and ones that were a huge, visual treat. Now, this one here was in that list as being one of the ones that's stood out for HDR, because there's some neon scenes in here which just look phenomenal. Now, I was interested in this film anyway because of the fact that it has all these callbacks to all these amazing films. The bit of The Shining in here is excellent, and you can also see loads and loads of nods to other things, Godzilla, King Kong. It's amazing how they've actually got Back to the Future. They've got the franchises of all of these things and put them into one film. I don't know how they actually managed to do that, because these days, if you're from one company and some other company wants to take your intellectual property, SpiderMan, the Marvel Universe, all that malarkey, then you're going to struggle. But this one here had it all in one go, which is amazing. But the film is good. I've enjoyed it. Me and my wife watched it and enjoyed it. But I've got to say the picture quality in this is really nice, and it's better than I thought it would be, because with it being heavily CGI, I was thinking it's not going to be that good. But when I watched it, I was quite blown away, especially by the computer graphics, sort of neon light scenes, and it just really jumps out. It's very vibrant in its presentation. So yes, very much recommended. Much better than I thought it was going to be, actually. I thought it might suffer from a good premise but not really a good film, a bit like Mortal Engines. A good idea, but it wasn't executed very well. But highly recommended. Lovely picture. Now this one here, you might think I don't understand it because it hasn't got a slipcover, but it has. The Revenant, right? And you'd be right, it hasn't got a slipcover. But what's this, you say? Well, it's the Blu-ray slipcover. Now, this was one of the first ones I bought, and I knew it didn't have a slipcover. And it's a good film, and it's one of these demo discs where everybody who gets 4K usually starts off with this title. Now, it's a good film. I did really enjoy it. It's a bit long, but the 4K on this is absolutely stunning. I think although I can't see the soundtrack on here, it might have Dolby Atmos, but it's definitely got at least a 5.1 DTS. And what I did was I went to CEX. I went and picked one up for £2 with a slipcover. Got rid of I probably sold it back to CEX for about a penny, and just took the slipcover off and stuck it over my 4K disc. So I've kind of got it in a way. I'm thinking about doing that with the other ones that I've got with mine as a slipcase, but on the shelves it just goes in. It minds its own business. I mean, if anybody came in, they wouldn't, well, unless they were eagle-eyed, they wouldn't really spot it. But we know it, but don't tell anyone. So there you go. But Picture quality wise, it's really, really good. With it being outdoors, and you get to see loads of water, and you get to see loads of rocks and stuff like that, and detail to them things is just absolutely amazing. Obviously, the bear scene in here was, it was something I knew about, but I didn't expect how graphic it was. It was excellent, actually. Now, this one here was a film that I used to watch back to back with itself back in the day, and it was one of my favourite ones. And then I kind of got it on Blu-ray, never really watched it on Blu-ray, and really not fell out of favour with it, but one of them ones where you think, I watched it that many times that I know exactly what it's about, and it kind of went right down the bottom of the list of watching. But then it came out in 4K, and I heard the 4K was really good, so I thought, right, I'm due a revisit, so I'll go and get it. So I went and got Scarface. Now, everyone probably knows about this film. Al Pacino is just amazing in this film. In fact, everybody is amazing in this film. It's a solid film. The 4K on it, some of the outdoor scenes look phenomenal. It looked as if it was shot yesterday. Some of the interior scenes look a little bit grainy, but that doesn't matter. That's just what happens. Looks a bit, the darker scenes look, you got a bit more grey in the darker scenes, but some of the colours in this release is amazing. So for me, this is a definite upgrade from the Blu-ray, and it's from Blu-ray, and I really enjoyed it. And it was like, not like watching a new film, although I knew it back to back, but it was refreshing to watch it after such a long break. And I really enjoyed it, and actually I can't wait to watch it again. Now, this one here is one of them ones that if you were lucky enough, you could have got it for £2 in Poundland, believe it or not. A 4K for £2. Yes, that's right. I wasn't lucky enough. I did find it on Blu-ray, so I got it, watched the Blu-ray, and I thought it was absolutely amazing. It's one of the best shark films I've seen since Jaws, personally speaking, and it's The Shallows. Now, this here, it looks absolutely amazing. I've got to admit, it's an excellent presentation. It's all bright. It's outside. There's water. It's got everything going for it for a film that could look good in 4K, and it absolutely does. It's got Dolby Atmos as well. I don't know if it's got Dolby Atmos and Dolby Audio. So does that mean Dolby Atmos for the picture? No, I don't know if it does, because I'd have to say Audio Atmos. No, Video Atmos. But anyway, I'm waffling. So highly recommended, and if you can see it, the 4K now is quite cheap. I don't know if you get the slipcover was quite hard to track down, but it's one of them ones that I knew when I saw it on the Blu-ray that if the 4K was an uptick, so I had to look into the reviews of it, and if it was, I would buy it instantly, and I did, and it was cheap as well. It wasn't £2. But it was about £10, but that was all right for me. £10 is usually good for a 4K if I really want it. If I'm not so bothered about it, anything between £5 to £10, and you'd be surprised at how many out there are £5 to £10, but usually don't get sold with a slipcase. And CEX are notorious for putting them on the shelves and getting rid of the slipcases, which is, I don't understand that one at all. The next one was the one that I wouldn't have thought to me, when I heard that this was going to be made into a superhero film, I thought, and I remember getting a few of the comics of this, way back when, and I didn't understand how they could make a film of it, because the comics I found to be quite boring. But I was pleasantly surprised, and it's Shazam. Now, this has Dolby Atmos as well. Yep, Dolby Atmos soundtrack, so that's good, because usually some of these DC ones and Disney ones are a little bit, they don't really want to do that for some reason. But this here, I don't know if it's a pure 4K. I would imagine it's not, because of the fact it's got lots and lots of special CGI in it. But for me, it was a great film. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the fact it was like an out-and-out comedy. It was quite comedic in the way that the man turned into a bloke, but he didn't know, he was still acting like a young lad. And it was all about the fact that he, it's a really good sort of, it reminds a little bit of like Big with Tom Hanks. It's got that sort of vibe about it, which I think works really well for it. I think if they played this straight, it wouldn't have worked at all. It would have been a boring film. But this, me and my wife, we had a great time with it. And I don't know if they're going to make another one of it, or he's going to appear in something else, but I think he's one of the best characters from DC that I've seen after Batman, which is something I would never have said when someone mentions Shazam being a movie. I would have said, they're scraping the bottom of the barrel now, because he's one of the ones that is the least in the comics, but I'll give it, this film is a really, really good watch. And probably, these ones are probably all quite cheap now if you want to get them. Now this one here, there's a comedian who I think is great, and I watch all her films, and I've got all her films, and I had this one on Blu-ray, and I wanted it. I will, if she releases another one, I will, although she's just had a baby, so she's taking some time off. But I will watch her films because I do think they're really good. And also, she doesn't get a lot of love for her films as well. She gets some really bad reviews for it, which I find a little bit, unwarranted personally. And it is Snatched with Amy Schumer. I'm going to say Amy Poehler. That's from Parks and Recreations, and Goldie Hawn. Now, this film, I mean, don't get us wrong, it's not the best of films, but it's a sort of light-hearted comedy, a sort of series of catastrophic events. It's a great film. I really enjoyed it, as I enjoyed all her film. Even that I Feel Pretty, which everyone seems to hate, I think was a great film. It's just her humour that just something I like. Just like something about this comedian. So that's it. If you like it, you buy it. So I got this from this is obviously an American import, and it was from eBay, and it was about £9. So I thought, well, why not? You probably can get this very cheap. It's got a really nice picture on it, and also most of it takes place in like a sort of jungle area, and it's the greens of the trees and all that type of thing. It looks spectacular, actually. I don't know about the sound quality on here because I mean, it did look nice, although I haven't watched it fully. I watched it on Sky Movies. I liked it that much. I bought the Blu-ray, didn't watch the Blu-ray, then got this on 4K, then saw the Blu-ray. So that's how you do it. You don't need to keep the Blu-ray of this anymore, because you obviously get the Blu-ray. Region free, obviously. I think the whole thing's region free, actually. But it's one of them ones, it's not easy to track down, but it's not going to be super hard when you do get it. Super expensive. Now the next one is funny, because when I originally, my son's a big Spider-Man fan, or he used to be, or he probably still is, and he's watched all the Tobey Maguire films, and he's enjoyed them, and we've watched them with him countless times. Now when it became due to reboot Spider-Man quite soon after Spider-Man 3 came out, I thought, why bother? And I heard my son went to see it, he didn't like it at all, so I watched it with him and didn't like it at all. So why have I got it now on 4K? Well, to be honest, it's got it's Dolby Atmos, and it's got a stunning picture quality on it. And I thought, well, it was really cheap in CEX. It was only about £5, and I thought, well, I'm going to give it a shot. It's one of them ones where I'll give it another try. If it looks good, it might sway us. And to be honest, it's not the best Spider-Man film at all, but it's all right. It's watchable, and I did find myself enjoying it, and I did think it was a lot better than I originally thought. So that being said, I went and got Spider-Man 2 as well, and this was at a knockdown price as well. Now I remember watching this, I think with my wife, and we turned it off halfway through. This is when it first came out, and I said, this is terrible, a terrible film. But I watched it again with fresh eyes, and I just went and I sat down, I thought, right, I'll switch my brain off for a couple of hours, which is not hard for me, and I'll also see, what if it's all right. And to be honest, I did quite enjoy it. It's not a great film, but it's not a disaster. It's not a disaster that I originally thought. So these ones here, if you can find them cheap and you want a bit eye candy and you want a sort of average Spider-Man film, they're not too bad, although they've definitely got flaws in them. And is the fella who plays Spider-Man, Andrew Garfield, good as Spider-Man? Not really too sure, but he's all right. But my son didn't like him one bit. Speaking of Spider-Man, so we went to see this at the Pictures, me and my wife, and we really enjoyed it. I think it's a return to form, although it was one of them ones where you say another reboot slightly of Spider-Man, but it doesn't reboot fully. And for me, this is a great film. It's one of the best Spider-Man films I've seen. To be honest, the Tobey Maguire ones I used to watch religiously back in the day. Obviously the Sam Raimi, so that's got that going for it. But on rewatch, I don't find it to be as good as I originally thought they were. And I've had the chance a lot of times to get them on 4K, although I don't think the 4K on the Sam Raimi trilogy is that good, I've heard. I don't really know if I want to revisit it. I had the chance to pick them up 2 for £10, and I sort of put it to one side thinking, when will I ever watch that again? My son's got them on Blu-ray if I ever wanted to see them. and that just shows me that I've got no real intention of doing it, so why bother with the 4K? So that's another one. You save yourself a little bit of money. You're not going to really go into the stupidity, not stupidity, but the depths of saying, well, if I'm going to get a Spider-Man film, I'll get the whole lot on 4K. I don't only want to get to the 4K section, hopefully, is of films, although it's about 100 now. I don't want to have ones that just sit there and do nothing at all. I want ones that I can revisit quite a lot of times. But this one here is a highly recommended Spider-Man film. It's actually in Dolby Vision and Dolby Atmos, so this picture quality in here is really good. Even though it's heavily CGI and it's probably not pure 4K, it's a really nice picture, and obviously the whole suit and everything just really is vibrant. So then we got, you heard the rattle. I went to, I thought, well, I get Spider-Man Far From Home. Now, there was a big, huge, long story about Morrison's, the shopping, the what's it called? Wow, can you imagine? Supermarket. Can you imagine blanking on that? So, yeah, so I went to Morrison's. The short story is I went to Morrison's. They had one on the shelf, and my wife had some vouchers. We could have got it for nothing, really, just in the vouchers. So I went, I can have one of them. So after about 3 hours, she come back and she says, I haven't got any. I said, well, I only want to know if you've got like a slipcase with them. That's really all. The only, if I come back and you've got some, will I get a slipcase with these? Because it was brand new, just come out. No, we don't do slipcases here. In fact, these don't get slipcases on them. I says, well, they do, because I've seen them in the shops, in HMV. No, they don't. And I thought, wow, that's somebody who doesn't have a clue what they're talking about. But anyway, after what seemed like a millennium, I went past CEX and I saw this one in the shelves, and it was about £12. So I thought, that's good. So I bought that. And when the fella put because the great in CEX aren't they for doing something a little bit catastrophic, when he put the thing into the box, not that I saw him do this, but I know I heard the click of it going into the box. It must have broke, because when I opened it up, to look at it, to check the disc to see if there had someone been wiping the nose on them, they had broken the disc box with it, so that's why this one rattles. So I try not to move it around too much, but the picture quality is another stunning presentation. It's a great film as well. We went to pictures to see it and we really enjoyed it. Can't wait to see what Spider-Man does next. And but yeah, the box needs to be rehoused in another box, because I don't want this one getting scraped, so that's why I'm a little bit careful with that one as well. So on a Spider-Man trip as well, we watched on Sky Movies this one. Now it's funny because it looks stunning, but for some reason they've chosen to have their animation in a sort of, it looks a little bit 3D, as if you've got your 3D glasses on, but they're not working properly, or when you take the 3D glasses on, you can see the blurred image. It's got a bit of a look of that. Now, my wife said that she couldn't get away with it because it looked a bit odd. Now, it's not as jarring as the whole, and if you saw on one of my previous videos about Gemini Man, it's not as jarring as that is, but also it doesn't affect it. To me, I kind of switched off from it and I did get through it, but the picture quality and the actual animation on here is excellent. It's one of the best things I've ever seen. It looks amazing on 4K. Like I say, I got this cheap, and it was just one of them ones that, but be aware that it's got that strangeness about it, but it won awards for the fact of the animation. So that means it is done great. I can't say it's not done great, but I do think that, I don't know if it had been without that blurred image. It sounds a bit bad to have a blurred image on a film, but it's not really a blurred image. It didn't detract, but it might detract some people's opinion of this film. But I personally liked it, but my wife didn't like it at all because of that. Although she thought it was a good film, don't get us wrong. It's just the way it looked. So the last film on this section is before part 5 is going to be Split. Now, I got this on Blu-ray, and I really like this film. Of the trilogy of this, I'm going to try and get his name right, M. Night Shyamalan. The trilogy, this for me is the best one. I wonder if you can do that. Hey, look at that. It's the first time I've ever done that. Wow. Been waiting ages to do that. Right, so this for me is the best out of the 3 by a long shot. Although I do like the other the other two. But his performance in here, as it is in most of the films, James McAvoy is exceptional, and the whole, how can I say, the whole split personality in here is just amazing. How he can do this, and it really, really is makes the film. It's got that kind of strange twist to it as well, which you didn't know about. When my wife watched it, because we were going to watch Glass, she had to watch Unbreakable first, and I didn't. I didn't want to watch this because she thought it was like a horror film, which it is has a bit tendencies to that. She didn't want to watch it and I said, we've got to watch it, but I couldn't tell her why. And then obviously when it kind of clicked that it was part of the trilogy, then she went, well, yeah, I get it now. But anyway, the picture quality in here is an uptick from the Blu-ray. I'm not going to say it's not. I wouldn't say it's a huge one though, but it's nice looking. I could say that it's not the best of 4K. It's lovely 4K, but the Blu-ray isn't far behind, if that's a thing. Okay, so that's this part finished at this point. But as I've said in my other videos, that I'm going to give a shout out on every video now, if I can, if it's not one that's like a specialist video that not many people would maybe see. So that the shout out today I'm going to give to a channel that I've just recently got into, and I chanced upon it on my recommendations on my telly. It popped up and I thought, right, I'll give this a shot, because I'll try most of the channels that come up, because some of them can be excellent, and this one was a really good channel. And the channel today is going to be, if I can get it, Film Blogger Sam. Now this channel is obviously run by Sam, and I've spoken to him a couple of times in his comment section on his videos, and he has a great selection. What I notice about his videos is that on his shelves and the stuff you can see, I'm looking along them, as everybody does, look along to say, I've got that one, I want that one, I like that one. So I found myself doing that on most of his shelves, thinking, well, that's a definite connection there. His things that he's looking at is practically the things that I look at. So then when I listen to his, and he has things from Criterion, he has Arrow collections, he has things where he has what he's watched, what he's bought, what he's looking at, what he's wanting to do. He does reviews of films. I found his delivery to be very relaxed, very informative. He gives you a great breakdown on each title. He goes through it. He's got a good knowledge of what he's talking about. He's not just picking something off the shelf and going and then doing that with it. He's doing an in-depth analysis on most of his things, and I've got to say, I find his channel very, very entertaining and interesting as well. And I think he's got a great delivery. He's, like I say, he's very relaxed, very friendly, and I do think it's a channel that I think he should get a lot more views. I think he should get more subscribers, because I think he's going places. He's got a really good setup, and I really enjoy that channel. So that's Film Blogger Sam. I urge you to check his channel out, and if you like it, please subscribe to it, because it's one of those ones where if you like that sort of stuff, you'll definitely like Film Blogger Sam. Okay, so that's it for today. Well, for this part, and I'll see you in the next part, which I'm going to film now. And thanks everybody who said that excuse me, they didn't say that. Thanks everybody who said that they enjoyed me walking around the house with my laptop. I will do that again sometime. I'm going to try and do it when I tidy my studio up. I'm going to take you into my studio and have a little mooch around there as well. Maybe in the back garden, who knows. You keep talking about this fella who's building this house over there, or building this extension on it. He's, funny enough, it's probably the only day in the whole of the last month that he hasn't been creating havoc on it and chopping things down and getting his buzzsaw out. I think he's a bit of a maniac, actually. But so yes, so I will put more things like that in it, and why not? So thanks once again for watching. If you like this channel, please like and subscribe, and I will catch you on the next video. Take care.